Right. Let's talk about something that I've been trying to avoid for a long, long time. Long, long time. Apple. What is going on with that company? What is going on? There was, if you look back, right, when Steve Jobs was there was a structure, right? There was some sort of structure that that things were going right. There were the right people there making the best decisions for the consumer. At the moment, it's just stakeholder profits. That's all I see. That is all I see at the moment. And it's, at the moment, consumers have the power. If they want to change what Apple, you know, sends out every year, keeps churning every year, these devices, which haven't changed much, it's all down to consumer power at the moment. The buyer at the end of the day is the one who has the power to change it. Now, if sales went down, that's how Apple would then start thinking, okay, we need to do something else. But that's not the case. Now, things are looking to turn, you know, and go in favor of Android devices and Samsung because I've got an Android device, right? And I'll be honest, I used to be an Apple fan. Oh, just hit the microphone there with the amount of passion I've got here. Um, so I used to be an Apple fanboy. I did my dissertation on it. I had iPods, back in the day when they first came out. I got the one when they had the big chunky iPod, which was like a brick. It was the first color one that came out. I went out and bought it. I think it was like 350 quid or something. And I was 16 and I worked at Marks and Spencer's in the cafe for the Christmas period and spent my money on an iPod. All my money on an iPod, just to let you know, right? So if anyone does say I'm a hater of Apple, it's not true. And I had the iPhones, I've had the Macs, and I've still got the iPad I bought last year, which was the iPad Air with the Apple Pencil. And they're not cheap, right? But it's worth it. I'll be honest, the iPads and the Macs are worth it because their performance and how they run, the Windows and the Androids can't compete with it. Like any editing you need to do on the Mac, anything you need to do on the iPad, it is fast, right? So that's my honest opinion on that. And I'm not being biased here, right? Now, the issue I've got at the moment is what I want to speak about is it's a shame, right, that this guy, Steve Jobs, worked very, very hard, you know, bringing out these devices, changing how Apple looked, because they weren't really doing well, back in the day. Windows took over everything. That's why you see Windows in all the offices, everywhere, and companies have still got the legacy systems running on them, so they can't really divert from that to a Mac device, which is why, Windows is still going on, right? And even I've got the Windows, and it's not great at times with how it runs. Now, where Apple kind of I would say where it start going downwards is basically as you would have imagined is once Steve Jobs went, there wasn't someone there who was really passionate about this. Tim Cook's more of a financial guy, if you think about it. He's more to do with looking after these people in the background who want their profits and these stakeholders, right? And Steve Jobs was more about working on these products, making sure they're perfect, with the team who's developing them, spending time there. Whereas I don't think Tim Cook's really bothered about that, right? And you can see with the prices have gone up, they're just ridiculous at the moment on year basis. If you look back when iPhone first came out and the prices, how they were going up each year, they weren't this significant. They were just around the same price, which was affordable, or it might have went up slightly, but it wasn't as much as they're going up at the moment. And it was more about the affordability for the consumer, where all the Apple fans then where everyone then got onto Apple who really didn't even have Apple beforehand because he had Blackberries and other things going on, Nokia and all that. So this was all down to Steve Jobs working hard. Now the disappointing thing to look at the moment is, as still a fan, I would say I'm just not a die-hard fan where I'm going to buy every device that comes out and pre-order it like I used to do before, because I'm using my head. I'm just logically thinking about it at the moment. Is it worth buying this device this year when it's exactly the same from the previous year and to put the price up, and maybe there's a little future that's changing there? It's I don't think it's worth it. You could just wait and then buy let's say a second-hand one. If you look at the websites, they're really great conditions. You can buy them at a better price. Now, if you go out and buy one of these products at the moment, especially with a contract, the amount you're paying is just so much because you're paying for the device and then you're paying for the airtime as well. And the monthly cost just gathers up. It's a snowball effect. You'll see that over the year. If you went on an Excel spreadsheet, put the cost down every month, work out the figures, what you're paying in total, it's just crazy. You could just get it on, I'll just get the device alone and then get the SIM only plan, later on once the prices go down, like the next year or the year after. But, from the looks of things, when I'm looking logically from the outside at the moment, Tim Cook's, I don't think he's not doing a really good job, you know. And as a preview, like I said, as a fan, it's disappointing to see that someone who's worked really hard, they're not here anymore, of course. Unfortunately, if he was, I think this company would be at another level. It would have even moved to a different level by now from what it was before. Now, all that success is because of his hard work. Okay, they've brought out the Apple Watch. There's other things, but I think he would have done something even further if he was still around. And it's just about the quality of the product, I'm saying. So I think they've just basically got his prototype, or let's say what he's already done, and just adding these little features every time, putting the price up, but nothing new, which is what he wouldn't have liked. He would have done something different by now, or he would have worked more on the actual devices. And I'm not saying the hardware has to look different every year, but have you seen the iPhones, how they've been every year? There's a lot of memes around that you'll see a lot of TikTok videos around where they're getting made fun of. I know there'll be a lot of people who are fans of the Apple who are, leaving comments and saying, "Oh no, this is not true. You can't beat Apple." And I agree, you can't beat Apple because I've got the iPad and I've used the Macs, and you can't beat them. They're just so great. And I've used an Android tablet, so I'm on both sides. But you've got to think of it logically here as well, what they are doing in the background, and you'll find out more information as you dig deeper and deeper. And I've watched videos and I've looked at other resources, with what's going on, and it's mostly to do with these a lot of payouts going to these stakeholders now. Whereas in Steve Jobs wasn't about that. If you go back, it wasn't about the payouts to these shareholders or the stakeholders. And as soon as Tim Cook stepped up, it just changed it all. Just changed it all. And it's disappointing. And I've tried to keep quiet for a long time. Like I said, I mean, I was a passionate fan. I got the iPod, I got the iPhones when they came out. I had the iPod Touch as well. I had the iMac as well. And the resolution is great on iMacs and the Macs. So I will give them that. But what I'm saying is, I was a diehard fan, and it is an amazing device, but it's all brand now. Doesn't look like there's any innovation. And I'm not saying they need to innovate really big or something. They've at least got to keep in mind that who's going to buy these devices? Are they worth the price that we're putting up? Have we done enough to, charge that price? But yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I mean, I'm just looking at if you went on Vodafone or any of these sites and you check the prices that they will be charging, per month, it's crazy because you're paying them as well for the package and then the device, and there's interest, of course, on there as well. Yeah, you got to keep that in mind. But that was my, I just wanted to just get this out there, give my opinion on what's going on. Samsung is like, I think it's doing well at the moment. It's at competing level with the Apple. I well, let's say the phones, the tablets, I would say not at that level. They don't really have their own kind of, let's say, own interface or laptops. It's just Windows. So it's just with the phone market I'm discussing here. Obviously, with the computers and the tablets, the Apple is just leading right at the top. Um, and if you're going to buy your kids anything, this is my suggestion. If you're going to buy anything for your kids, where they go to school, they need these apps, that they use to, or the websites, shall we say, to use to do their school homework, let's say, because you're not buying them a laptop yet. They might be 5-year-old, 7-year-old, that age. I would suggest buying them an iPad because I've given an Android device to one of my childs before, and the lag is horrendous with how you try and load up their homework and do other things. Whereas on an iPad, it was just so straightforward and so quick. So yes, you know, iPad, you are the winner in that. Okay, the tablets. But drop your thoughts in here. Of course, I won't go any longer on this topic there. You know what I think about this. You've seen this video now. Just drop your comments what your thoughts are about this. What do you think? Which direction is Apple going? From your opinion, do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you think they need to do something quite soon? Otherwise, it's just going to be spiraling downwards because the competition will overtake. I know they've got a lot of money, but money can only last so much time when if it starts the products start failing soon enough, and that does happen at some point when it gets oversaturated. And I was one of the early adopters, so we're not at that stage anymore. This isn't the early adoption stage. This is the late adoption, or even not even that. It's just really late on now. Everyone's got an iPhone. They know what an iPhone is now, or what Apple is. But yeah, drop your thoughts and your comments, like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching this content. And I do appreciate you supporting this channel. Because of you guys, this channel is doing great at the moment. If you want me to do any podcasts where I am interacting with any of my friends, to get more opinions, and you think that would be great content, let me know and I'll do that. Thank you very much. See you later. Bye bye.